It's all about building your design palette, your visual library. I've been using this for, I don't know how long they've been around, maybe even 15 years now. There's a URL they used to have on the site, but they don't have that link anywhere now. Like you can't even find the link because I don't even know how many people even know this URL exists. So it's not publicly visible on their navigation. To me, this is stunning, right? And it's also very simple. I'm going to drop this image in, use this UI as inspiration. I want you to copy this UI verbatim. I sometimes feel that works. I just put in verbatim in capitals, just like almost tells it like it has to be exact. So let's see if this works.
Clap, 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 we're done just right. 5-day sprint took us to new heights. Make it, build it, your dreams ignite. We're making moves at turbo pace.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our newest episode of Community Updates with myself and Ollie. Hi Ollie.
Hello. How are we?
It's funny,
Well,
last week I pointed to you and I watched it in the edit and I was pointing the wrong direction because on the camera, when I point this way, it looks like I'm pointing to you, but for some reason that was actually, it should be this way, which when I'm looking at it, it's not the way.
and if I remember right, I sounded so surprised I was even here last week when I did my introduction.
Yeah.
Like, been called up again.
Like you've been called out, like Dermot O'Leary just shouted your name out in X Factor audition and I will come forward by them.
Yes, could have come forward. Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm back again.
Oh man, lovely. Well, this is a a highlight of our week, just getting together and to chat about the community and share some fun stuff. Obviously, last week we spoke a bit about the boardroom, which is now in full effect. So we won't go too much into that, but I will share my screen so we can perhaps just indulge a little bit in the community. So this is a video I put out yesterday, which was cool. So I kind of had this idea over the weekend as I was sitting with a friend, which was like, hey, what would it look like to really lean into content around sort of like design and AI? And so this is what I sort of came up with, which was like, okay, well, let me actually play around with designing using AI, and then sharing that, something that I really actually enjoy doing. I actually found it kind of a aha moment when I was able to create like a UI design using AI. I think, do I still have the project loaded up in? Let me see. I think I might still have, yeah, we do. So if I just go to, so basically it was like, there's this site called merlin.computer, which I found, and I really like the look of it. It's just like such beautiful like, animation that comes in, have this nice sort of blur effect. It's actually such a
that's cool. That bit there with the MacBook's really cool.
Yeah, this is nice. Even this blur thing in general, by the way, I didn't even know that like just adding some blur to text animation would look so good. So it's a good example of why building things with AI and using other websites as inspiration is a great way to just learn as well. So look at that, like, I didn't, by the way, this is actually the Merlin's website. I didn't build this. What I wanted to do is I wanted to recreate this just to show people what it was like to how you can actually sort of build with AI. So we did that. What are we doing, Merlin? And then we got this, which was like pretty close. So we got the same type of blur to this. And then we got like the animation with the glow going on across here the same way. They have it a bit better on the actual load, but and then we did the menu at the bottom as well. So that menu kind of come up and open up. And then all these sort of like hover animations and stuff like that. So it was fun just to play around with that. But yeah, I'm keen to do more around just design with AI. And so that was like something that we I think this tutorial itself was maybe like an hour and a half, but I think it'll be cool to figure out how can we do more content like that that doesn't have to feel so long-winded. Like what can we do within a 20-minute, 30-minute video? So even I was going to sleep yesterday, I was just thinking about it. And a fun fact is, if I ever go to sleep thinking about creative things, literally, I'm seeing it in my actual dreams. Like I'm hyper visualizing like ideas, which is very strange. And I only really noticed that more recently. And it probably is related to me enjoying the things, I think, in some interesting way. So I was thinking yesterday about, okay, what could we do? And I was literally seeing like form fields and carousels in my dreams, which is a little bit disturbing, but also cool. So something like that, I think we need to be doing more of, right? I think you see so many ugly AI sites that just do builds off the jump. And I want to share more about what it takes to actually create beautiful visuals, and it can be learned. It's just a bit about building up this visual library in your head, creating a bit of a taste palette, and then understanding how to communicate that in the terminal. Otherwise, you're doing it in if you're using Figma or Framer, you are if you think about it, the idea is still happening in your brain, but the communication technique is using the mouse or mouse pad to draw rectangles and boxes and to add radius, to add color, to add an image in. But if you can just verbalize that instead of using your hands, AI can still do that, and it can actually make it real very quickly. So you can look at a blank canvas in your AI project as basically a Figma canvas or a Framer canvas or Webflow canvas, whatever you want, and it's much more effective. So
That's I know what you're saying, trying to reduce that time load down to so it's almost like in incremental stages, which becomes easier. But in fairness to yourself, that was fully from scratch. I mean, from watching the recording of such, it was very much looking at the idea of taking this one site, replicating it, the different tools you went to go and use. I think I often speak to a few members, and I always say to them like that, the design elements, the almost a thing to look forward to most. And it's like, leave it, like, when you're a child and you leave the best food in your plate till last. It's like, that is the kind of stuff, because you want to make sure you've got everything built into what you want it to ideally go and do. If a customer lands on your site, what do they want to go and get from that site? And then the design stuff's almost like, if I can like just drag them in even more, like they click onto it looks really pretty. There's things there, the scroll sections, that the most common websites, and in fairness, we'll get into them as well because I've shared a few with you. The ones that always draw me in are the ones that always get shown on social media. The product may not be the most standout product, and this is where like my old world and this new world are like completely different, in the sense that you can have something that stands out perfectly well and grabs your attention and draws you in. Half the time in different worlds, and it's still very relevant to this stage, you do always need a very, very good product to make sure that you have that sustainability for it, which means that people then arrive back to it, of course.
Yes.
But I think we often also overlook the stages, which is design's a huge element to just even get people to walk through the front door.
Have you seen these guys, Quarter, who have gone a bit viral on Twitter?
I've seen it on X all the time.
Yeah. I still call it Twitter. You're such
sensible, to be fair.
Yeah.
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Yeah, such a Gen Z.
You're Gen Z, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, 24.
Am I a millennial? I think I'm a millennial. 92.
Must be.
What year were you born in?
2001.
Oh my goodness. You're a year.
Yeah.
You're a year younger than my sister. Older than my sister or younger than my sister? She was born in 2000. Why is my math so terrible?
I'd be younger. Yeah, younger.
Oh my goodness, Ollie.
It's early. Where it's understandable for us to let math slip.
Lil Ollie.
Yeah, Lil Ollie. Yeah, anyone that sees me in school now, it's not Oliver Sykes anymore. It's Lil Ollie.
Lil Ollie. Just call it, or would you say Lolly?
Yeah, that works too. That's good.
So that was today's condescending corner.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's a clip.
So these guys, Quarter, have been doing these cool posters. So basically, I think they and I don't know, some sort of fintech type product that obviously have quarterly earnings calls that they, I think, share the updates for whatever on their site. But they've been doing really cool visuals. So this was on the viral. So like, how long you've been doing Uber? But it's basically it's just posters to announce that they've got this content on their site with community calls.
Meta.
Visuals are Michelin star, but the logo looks like it was cooked in a gas station microwave. What? It's so brutal. It's so funny. Oh, YouTube.
The comment section of X.
YouTube comment section on certain things, just the Barstool content. The YouTube comments in those. I just love them. I live for those comments. This is really cool. This is nice as well. So yeah.
By the way, that Windows one, Windows changed their logo. So I imagine it was because Windows changed their logo to that. Or Microsoft, sorry, not Windows. And I imagine they then post up the back of it for this here.
Yeah, potentially. I did change their logo recently, so this is not the logo. You think they changed it
No,
since?
they had just updated it the other day on X, where it had the flowers as the four boxes. I saw it on X, whether it was just for like an event or something like that. They changed it. If I just go on X whilst we're chatting now, Windows.
The new icons.
I'm gonna look so silly now just because I saw it whilst I was just doom scrolling on X
Yeah.
one day.
No, it's fine. But yeah, this yeah,
Microsoft.
but
Oh no, they
I
have done. I think on X.
what should I type in? Just Microsoft.
Just type in Microsoft. Yeah, Microsoft saved me here. There you go. It's the top one. If you've seen their
Ah,
logo.
interesting. Oh, I wonder what that's for.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, but in general, yeah, just design is so brilliant. By the way, I think it's interesting because my brother always speaks about this concept of what he calls, you know what, this two-screen situation. Um, speaks about this concept of showmanship, right? And this idea that, like, showmanship is like that moment, a quintessential example, Michael Jackson, coming up on the stage, stand there for 10 minutes, crowd going crazy. You know what I mean? That's like the like the highest highs of sort of showmanship. But then you see it in, like, micro moments, right? And I think, and it's sort of a feeling that someone gets. It's almost like, the hair standing on the back of your arm type of feeling the audience member gets from witnessing something. Almost like, you could see it when someone kind of ratios someone on Twitter, is like maybe the social media version of the kind of that whoa type moment. But I think design, that can be a bit more of sort of a negative connotation. But I think, like, the things that universally people can all agree have that type of showmanship in the come in some sort of art form, whether it's a performance, whether it's a physical art piece, a design piece, something creative that you can look at and be like, whoa, like, I can appreciate that is, it's like a universal thing that the human experience can agree on. And that I've always enjoyed about design, because as much as sort of like art can be subjective or whatever, beauty is beauty, and when you can create something great, they can criticism come from all angles, but when you see a beautiful visual and a beautiful website, man, it's just, it warms the heart. Like, I genuinely feel like that. It's like eating a great piece of food, that's been cooked well, with care. That's what it mainly kind of represents, right? Is care from the creator, which I really enjoy about design. So yeah, absolutely. I think in this era that we're in, it's like, yes, you can make products very quickly. You can, speed ramp your way through the entire process and try and get to the revenue. But along the way, you want to enjoy the process. You want to create something that looks interesting. And I'm really passionate about, sharing more of that. And kind of, you spoke about you joining our community because of what you saw with Teeny Tales, and that was another example of
Yeah.
that, where I just wanted to create like a beautiful product. And interestingly, that was the type of thing that, engaged someone like you. And I do think there's some space to maybe do more around that. So we definitely want to tap into that, I think, in the community some more.
I agree. I think do you reckon half the battle is a psychological one, which is you just see that there looks like so much effort's gone into it visually that you feel as if, like, the respect, you almost get like met at the door with respect, where you're like, I can tell this design's incredible, therefore they must have spent so much time putting into this there. I'm almost willing to give it a chance.
I think it is a bit of that, and also it's. I think I feel it on a very human level of respect and care, especially the term duty of care. Like, I find that when you give care to something, duty of care is a better way of saying it, because you have that responsibility, right? That if you're going to deliver something, you deliver it well, and we're all flawed human beings, we don't get everything perfect all the time, but, like, it comes across. And I think it's those tiny things that make the human experience better. And if we can translate that in the digital world in this way, I really enjoy that. Like, when I see people do those type of things, and it was interesting. I was watching Casey Neistat yesterday on an interview with Colin and Samir at their published press event in New York. And he was saying the same thing. He said, kind of, they're mentioning this terminology, creator economy, and he was saying how it kind of frustrates him that it became more of an economy because he understands all the reason it had to become that from a business perspective. However, he enjoys it more when it can just be for the sake of the art. Um, and what I
Yes.
like about right now with AI and design and creativity is, man, AI is such a propellant, to be able to get you to create products that can generate revenue and actually have impact that can, just completely change your life, really. And then you could just almost take this paintbrush and then add that layer to it and make it then look like a beautiful product. And it just everything just feels more complete then. That's how I feel about it. And when I see people do that, that's what I see. I'm like, okay, who was this person behind this? That
Yes.
shows a level of care and love, that they put into it, and that's very pleasant to experience, I think, as the end user.
I completely agree. Talking about comment sections, every time I go on X and I see something visually, I bookmark it. And then if you go straight to the comments, it's always people saying, well, who is responsible for this? Like, who
Yes,
made this? Where can I
yes,
find the original site? And everyone's always looking for that kind of end
yes.
user. And just to go back to a point you just touched on there, the creativity spark and the kind of effort levels that go into it, it's almost like, especially with what Casey was saying, not doing it, or you want to do it because you enjoy the feeling of doing it rather than the whole the money element of it, building the business. And of course the direction had to change anyway because YouTube being one of the most viewed, if not the most viewed platform in the world right now. It's like an artist doesn't tend to, you don't tend to see many, and I may be wrong, there's no factual check towards this, but not many artists jump into painting pictures because the money element to it, because the amount of time it takes to perfect your craft and also produce that one piece is
Yeah,
months, years. And it's not,
yes.
if you wanted to make money in that period of time, there's easier ways to go make more money from doing that stuff in a shorter window of time. So the fact that they're willing to go and do it showcases the fact that they love their trade, they love their craft more so than they love the direction of travel the industry's moving into.
Well, what I find interesting now is, and again, if you connect, I don't want to speak, on the behalf of, a traditional artist like a painter without really knowing what goes into it. But in general, just from a creative perspective, and I've, seen design in many forms, you know, whether it was just like, logo design, branding, marketing assets, website design, poster design, whatever it is. My lane has always kind of been more sort of graphic, UI, UX. But what I've noticed, no matter the medium, whether it's been one of those things or whether I'm doing, no matter the tool, if I'm using a Photoshop, a Figma, or a WordPress, Webflow, and now Claude Code, the feeling that you get as a creative is always the same, right? It's like you're always looking for this moment where it's like, yeah, that feels right. And sometimes that's about spacing. Sometimes, and it matters to you, right? Like someone else might not see something. You see in the video that I just shared yesterday, where like I'm almost getting mad that the animation doesn't come in perfectly, and the glow was happening twice instead of once. And then when you look at that, you might think, oh, that still looks beautiful, but I wanted to do the thing that I wanted to do. But that obsession and that making it work when it eventually works is that feeling and that sweet spot you get, which is like, like that's what I wanted to feel because I know that the end user will also appreciate that and that detail. They'll like that. And sometimes it can be the tiniest radius on a corner, but whatever it is, to me it doesn't matter the tool you're using or what you're doing it in. It's all about getting that output for the audience to experience. Um and I think now with AI, I'm finding it interesting that you can just do it much more quickly, and so you don't have to spend the traditional type of 5 hours or 5 days or however long you need to like get this perfect painting to then need people to approve it. You can almost like have that type of feeling being creative with AI, but also stitch it onto a very valuable product, that can immediately have some sort of value in the market as well. So that's why I think it's like, it's almost like a very underrated skill actually as well. Which is interesting. Like, why is it? I don't know, but it is quite an underrated skill. Like, how is it that there are very few products, even in like the tech space, that are designer led, right? Like Airbnb is the only one that really comes to mind. Of course, there's Apple with Steve Jobs, but he wasn't a designer in the same way that Brian Chesky's a designer, right? Brian Chesky came from a bit more of like the modern world of designers as we know them, and Steve Jobs would have been of his time. But that is it. Like and you see it in the product when I was just with a friend right now. We're planning a trip, and I haven't used Airbnb in a while. And he shared a wish list with me, and then I opened it in my app. It was a delightful experience. Just the way I was able to sort of thumbs up the one, because literally I didn't even see the thumbs up option in the app. I'm just scrolling through. I was about to screenshot and share with him the ones that I like. And my brain just defaulted to that. But I was like, oh, then I looked at it and just had a thumbs up, and he allowed me to write a note. And I was like, oh, that's lovely. Like, obvious, I'm sure that was like obvious thing, but like that shows to me a duty of care. It shows that they've been through that process of the user and thought about, oh, wouldn't it be cool if they had this, and then built it. And then of course we're going to that path and experience that. That to me is good design. But it's maybe few and far between at this point.
I think good design doesn't tend to correlate with pound signs.
Yeah.
And the reason
Yeah.
why I say that is, for example, like Airbnb haven't built that thumbs up feature because it's going to make them more money. Inherently, it will do because it keeps customers there, adds more customers to it. It's easily accessible now to speak to one another, but it's not like a direct feature, which means someone's going to go to their platform for that one thing. And
Absolutely.
like we say about, I think a lot more tech companies, if you look at their creativity with logos, their color psychologies and everything else that comes with it, they're leaning more back into this space now of like, how can I not only stand out, but how can I not look like every other tech platform ever? And you have to kind of strip back the layers and go back into that creative when you're 5, 6, 10 years old. What felt tip pens did you lean towards? Like, what kind of stickers were you placing around the house, etc.? Like, it's all those different dimensions that kind of build that bigger picture. And then you move further forward into the aspects of, okay, now cool, how does it meet our consumer? How does it meet the demands of it? And you just get lost in the world because there's so many things you could lean into.
Yeah, and the argument normally, and I've experienced this as a designer, and I've also experienced it as a product manager, as a CEO, and all these different things. Um, the argument naturally tends to be, we can make it beautiful later, or let's just build the thing, let's get it functional, let's see if it works, and let's iterate our way along. Which it was a very plausible argument, right? But my rebuttal has always been, um, but if we can make it beautiful, why not? Like what is the cost? Because I can design fast. So if I'm involved, it can happen very quickly. And also the way I work is I try to do design thinking at the same time of building, right? Which is like we're thinking about the user experience and the flow, and I'm also visually thinking about the layout as I'm building. And normally when you're working with bigger teams and engineers in the past, I have to play this role between two different dynamics of the engineer and the developer trying to build the feature to make sure they're having to optimize for what needs to actually work, and then not overdoing it. And then also me as a designer wanting to project to create a level of creativity onto the project, but also being mindful that if I go too creative, then I'm also creating more work for them because they're going to then go and take that design and implement it into their code. And I love the space of AI, which is it's all up to me, so I can do both of those things at the same time. I am the engineer and the designer at the same time. I can be building a feature and designing it at the same time. And so it even more so allows me to say, well, why not just make it beautiful if I can, right? Because as I'm going, I'm just able to design it. And the skills that you need to design aren't that difficult at all. It's just a couple of simple things that if your mind can just align with those, man, like it's funny because sometimes I think people look at design and look at complexity, but actually it's often just very simple, right? Like you can have look at WeTransfer as a good example. It's a very simple site, but it's beautiful. It's like they've got a big, image in the background, which now is actually like a billboard effectively. But the UI itself is just a tiny little widget, where you can upload, send a file to whoever needs to send it to you or whatever. Just lovely. And I love the way it looks, but you'd look at that and you think, oh, how am I going to build this? But when you break it down, it's very simple. It's a div background with another div on top, which is a card, and the card's got a form element on it. And so when you can start to understand those concepts, it's like the world is literally your oyster. You can just build and create at the same time as vibe coding.
I know, 100%. The simplicity for yourself. Do you reckon? Because I think to myself, like I understand how simple it can be, but I probably speak on behalf of many members as well. It's also the element of you don't know what you don't know. So like the tools that you used yesterday, sorry, for the video, where you're almost basically just inspecting what's going on. Is that something you're looking to lean more into? Because I know that you've obviously now the spark for you is the creativity, which is how can you one, to our community, but two, also people that are external that aren't part of what we do here at 5 Day Sprint? Are you going to kind of like lean into those kind of quick wins, the stuff that you've experienced over your career, still to this day, the stuff that you're finding out day to day of other different like kind of little 1% winners, how you can kind of go
Absolutely.
from, I want this, turn this into something else?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I want to do more. I definitely want to do more of that. And we're seeing it in the projects that we're building out right now. Look, with the Best to Buy project, we're now at the design stage, so we're going to see a lot of more of that come to life. And I think all of the projects I would be releasing, design has been and presentation has been such a big part of the end result. But that's what excites me. I'm not a numbers metrics type person. I'm more of a feeling emotion type of person. And so and I have to enjoy the process as I'm doing it. And I think kind of this vibe coding zone gives me a bit of both, where I can look at absolute facts because of like how things are structured and engineered, which is brilliant. And then also we're doing things with SEO, so we can actually see numbers and the impact they're having. But I get more excited about the visuals, like even with Best to Buy and the way we're building it now. I came across a site. I might have even saved it, actually. Let me see if I can share my screen. I'm always thinking about
Yeah,
interesting
wicked.
ways to make things more visual, and this is how I normally do it. So it's all about building your design palette, your visual library, let's call it. And so I've shared this many times before, but I think it's just such a great resource. So Dribble is basically like the OG inspiration site for designers, right? Like I've been using this for, I don't know how long they've been around, maybe even 15 years now. Now the business and company itself has kind of fallen off in a way, at least in terms of in the eyes of a designer, and it's not as popular as it used to be. However, there's a URL they used to have on the site called dribble.com/buckets. What happened is like you used to be able to find it on like the explore page or whatever else, but they don't have that link anywhere now. Like you can't even find the link on their site. But it's still a URL that works. And so I've been using this URL for a long time, and I'll be curious to know what the traffic even looks like for this page, because I don't even know how many people even know this URL exists. So it's not publicly visible on their navigation. The reason it's so cool is because it's basically it's like designers creating buckets for themselves of designs they like, right? And they're public buckets, right? So if I create a bucket, I'm not necessarily making it private. Like I don't care. It's just a series of inspiration taken from other people's stuff. So it's like it's cool. But you can go in here and you can just see what other people are finding beautiful, and then you can find beautiful trends out of that. So what you'll do over time is you'll start to build a bit of an idea of like what looks beautiful from a distance. And so I can look at this right now and immediately this stands out to me. I look at that and like to me, this is stunning, right? And it's also very simple. Like it's a div with these are basically just rows. Like these are two different rows, and this is a table, this table header, this is a single row on the table. But even just small elements, like I might simply look at the design structure here of like the dark green with the light green. I might screenshot that like that. I might then go into Figma, for example, and let's I just paste it there. And then I would like just pick out these two colors, the green here and the green there. And then I will literally just copy these codes, give it to Cursor and say, hey, these are the colors I want for the success, thing on my project. If I was building like that. I like things like this. I want a nice way of doing a gradient. So I see things, even I might even get inspired by the fact that, oh, you don't have to have titles. You can have a combination of titles and just icons. Maybe that's a way of condensing the table down. And so I would save that. It's interesting. I've already got this saved, which is funny. So obviously that's something I've seen before, but there'll be things I've seen here which I don't like at all. Like I'm looking at this, I'm like, to me, that's terrible, from a design perspective. Like there's nothing interesting about that. It doesn't engage me. It doesn't feel good. And I think you have to be, blunt about it. You can't kind of, tread this line of, this middle ground. It's like, it's either it's great or it's not. And then what I do is I create my own buckets. And so if I go to my profile, my liked shots, so you can see even here, not liked shots, sorry, collections. You can see here, like I've got different buckets. The BD is my Best Dubai bucket. And so this is what I saw the other day. I saw this. And I loved it. I was like, this is so clean. It was a mobile app thing, but I just liked the only thing I liked from this was just this part. Like I liked just the way these were like touching, they were rounded, a nice big photo. There was call to action. It's like, okay, that's cool. Like, could there be something like that on my site when you land that says like, find museums, you know, and then has a map next to it, and then maybe logos of like here, but like 3 popular brands. And on the right side, it says like, you know, explore restaurants. Like, what would that look like? And so that just inspires me. But then I know that, okay, all I have to do is explain what this is to Claude Code. I have to say to it to create me a div that's fully rounded, you know, whatever else. And it can just sort of like, you know, put that together for me. But yeah, so I just create buckets like that. Like what else? Like things like this. I think this is really cool. Like, you know, what could I do with a map? You know, if I had a live map of like Dubai and, you know, had these different elements in there, like what would that look like? You know, I love these sort of cards here, which I thought was really clean. And so I'll save that. And so, yeah, so dribble buckets is a great example of doing that. Even this over here.
Is
Yeah,
Omar, is a bucket basically like having access to your Instagram feed, pretty much? Like you can go and see multiple different feeds that people have like bookmarked, saved, shared, etc.
yeah, but here's why I love it so much is a psychological element of it, and this is what I think I shared with you probably privately before, which is why email newsletters are a great format as well. It's similar to the way this works because you want to get to the closest source of truth of what someone's actually feeling. And like the reason email newsletters and email chains are interesting is because it's a very private experience. And so an interaction you're going to get, such as someone clicking on a link in a newsletter, isn't done for any social appearance. You know, they're not trying to look a type of way. They're not trying to do any virtue signaling. It's a true intent of whether they want to actually engage with that thing or not. And so the metric you're getting is truth. That's what you want in anything you're building, is you want a source of truth. Whereas on social media, you have people share things because of what it might look like or things they want to share. There's a lot more going on in their head, which is about themselves and how they look, as opposed to the truth of what they really feel. And the reason I like this part of Dribble is because designers aren't sharing it because they think their buckets are public or they're sharing their buckets. They're creating all of them. Look at the naming conventions on them. Look mine are called like BD, like whatever, like, you know, stream, like it's just stuff for me, you know, sprint. These are like 5-day sprint inspired shots that I put in there when I was building. And I continue to add to these. Like, I just like these type of things. I'm on your dashboard. Like, I would like to build things like this. I like the card element. But actually, why I like this is because if I go back to the URL of buckets, look at all these names that roll up. Al Faroni, you know, what does this mean? Color palette, lowercase. Like, people are creating these buckets because it's for them. You know, they're not thinking of it as it's a social feed. They're just thinking of it for themselves. And so everything inside that is a source of truth. So when I find a good bucket from a good designer, you can go even further, and I'll show you what you do. You find a good designer. Actually, I've got some designs I already like, but let's see if there is anyone right here. This is not bad. So look, tooltip, Sanju. So see, it feels like you kind of got a good aesthetic. So when you go in someone's like bucket, you basically get an idea of whether they have a good eye or not. So if you see someone, let's say I saw that bucket earlier on with that terrible game design, I can't trust that person's design eye, right? And so now I will like not really explore them. Whereas if I open this guy, I like his design eye, and I'll be like, okay, this is interesting. So now click on his profile, and I'll see, okay, you can see what other collections he might have. And then you might find interesting things here. So these are other things. So he's created breadcrumbs, workflow. He's got like different, like if you're creating like a Zapier type product, he's got our workflows in there, which are really cool.
Ooh.
You know, and so yeah, I mean, that's not great. So as I said, anytime I even see one thing, by the way, that isn't incredible, it just takes that down a notch for me personally, just because I need to really trust the design eye. But the thing that is really cool for me is the liked shots tab. And the reason this is cool is because where people are not even having to create a bucket, they're just liking. And so there's a big library of just things that he's liked, right? Okay, he's only liked a few. But the designer that I was going to mention earlier is this guy here, interestingly, Monty Hayton. So he's from Australia. And this guy's liked shots are like a gold mine. Like this URL, if you're a designer, if you are a designer, but also if you're just vibe coding in your building and you want to look at great design, and again, the point of this being to build your visual library and that reference in your head, you need to be on this URL. You go to this guy's page, go to his likes, and just scroll. And I do this type of stuff every day, multiple times a day, and without even thinking about it. It's just a part. Instead of opening my phone and normally going, I don't even have Twitter installed on my phone. I told you before, I just use it on the browser. I don't like to go into those type of things. I like to open up design inspiration. I like to open up interesting, creative, uh, things like this. So like this guy's eye is stunning. The things that he saves and likes is just everything's just beautiful. Like every single thing like is just wonderful, and you can just get a great sense of like good design by looking at his shots, and then what that can do immediately when you see something like that and you see this it can become your design. And so what I showed in the YouTube video I did here is basically how you take an inspiration of either an actual website like this, or you can do it with a UI interface like this. And then the next step that you want to be able to do, which we're going to do more in the community, is how do you look at this and not be overwhelmed by it? How can you look at this and see what I see, which is a container with 2 divs, which is basically half a page each. And then the left side is basically H1 text with a explainer and a form. And the right side, it's similar, but with some logos and text inside divs. And if you wanted to, you can make these scrollable just by asking Claude Code to make them scrollable. But this is a very doable design in probably about 20 to 30 minutes. And so that's where I think, like, if you build up the design palette a bit more and you see things like this, how beautiful is this? And you'll see, by the way, in the 5-day sprint, if you go to the 5-day sprint, you'll see a lot of elements like that inside. Actually, let me go to my project. You'll see, look at these cards. Look at these. You got this curved card. By the way, the radius is off there, so that's quite annoying. But they got a curved card with like a gray outer. But look at this. It's like kind of taking inspiration from this. Now this one also has a little border around it, maybe a tiny bit of drop shadow at the bottom. So I could even take mine up a notch. But like, that's kind of where this inspiration came from. So even when you're seeing designs that I'm doing, they're a remix of things that I've liked, things I've seen, and then I add my own flavor to it. Then even these elements were things I added from other resources I found. So if you go to like Kibo UI, for example, these guys will have loads of components that work well with a 5-day sprint. Like avatar components. They'll have things if you want to create like almost Instagram story stuff. Announcement bars like this, which are really nice. So you can just go and copy these directly. You can just go code, copy, give it to Claude Code, and it'll enter into your project. So you can do things like this all day long. And that's what I do. I sometimes then take components from other areas. And so I've got a visual structure here that I like. I've then seen something else on a different inspiration site that I wanted to add in, such as this animated backdrop I saw somewhere. Then I saw this like, sort of motion that goes around the border. I then saw this animation inside is a Lottie element that I got from iconscout.com. So you go on here, another subscription that you should absolutely have with Lottie animation. I might have typed in like, waves. And then you just see these really cool sort of waves, like things like this. And one of these, like things like these, one of these like this would have been what I used right here in this animation. And so basically there's Lottie animation going on. You just download this and you can edit it. You can edit it here. You can change the colors to match your brand and then download it with the right colors, which is really cool. I'm logged in, but you can do that. And you put in your project. It's brilliant. So there's so many. It's like if you just understand all these different things that you have available, like even if I type in here, for example, let's say Google. If you look on the Guilty Chef side, we had a Google button that upon, I think it was best to buy it, and on hover, it did. Was it this one? Let me see. No, we basically had a button that on hover did an animation. Even here, like this here was a Lottie around the logo. So you see how we just remixed 2 elements together. But Google you can find a nice Google animation here, like this one, for example, or like this. And you can basically just say to Claude Code, here's the Google logo, the last frame, because if you see on the last frame, it's still the last frame I want to use as the default state, but on hover, make the Lottie animation play. And so on hover now, you'll have this sort of animation happen. And that's how we did a lot of the elements in Teeny Tales as well, that kind of came to life. So these are those series of techniques I'm speaking about that I really want to share more of. And if I can get more of this in sort of like, into our project building flow, then I just think everyone will be a lot more equipped to build just, beautiful experiences.
I'm with you 100%. And for those people that find designs that are just images and they have no code behind them, in the sense that, like, instead of going across these different sites to provide you the code, Shad's the ends of the world, for example, if it was just a sole image they've seen on social media, they've seen on Dribble, and they wanted to take that across, where do they store that inside their project in a minute in time to give Cursor or Claude Code the inspiration to go and build that one thing? Is it as a super base? Do you just drag and drop, put it into the chat bar?
Well, you could. The way I've done before is basically just create a reference directory inside my project, and then I literally just drop the file into there. But I'm not too confident with its output, and I haven't tried it enough to know if it's any good. So if I go to, excuse me, let me just go over here into.
I think this is a cool point to touch upon, because I think a lot of people see inspiration online. It's then how close can they get to bringing that to life?
Okay, so let's save this image.
Yeah.
Folder called slop for my video. And I'm gonna save it to that project. Where are we? Sprints, tests, Merlin, references. So this is basically now a folder that I just created inside my project I'm working on. I'm now gonna go here. I'm going to drop this image in, and then let's find our site. Where was it? Over here. I'll say okay. I'll say use this UI as inspiration. I want you to copy this UI card verbatim. I sometimes feel that works. I just put in verbatim in capitals, just like almost tells it like it has to be exact. So let's see if this works. Verbatim. Yeah. And place it below the social proof section. Let's just hit that. Let's see what it does. So first of all, it will do is, because it's got Anthropic AI API built in, it will read that reference. It'll be interesting actually, because I anytime I've done this before, I haven't had too much success. So I wonder if and I haven't done it in a while. So let's see if this works. So it's now it basically reads that image. So look, it's reading the image. So hopefully you should be able to understand its core components. And let's see how close we can get to something like this just by giving it a simple just drag and drop of the image. So you can see the subscription design. Just see what it does.
Yeah, this is what I'm interested about, because I've tried it before myself, not knowing the right or wrong way, and I don't know if there is a right or wrong way, but I got close, but there were certain elements such as font sizes, font itself, color distribution that was very, very different. So
yeah,
I want to know how close you can get, because the good thing is, if you can at least get a foundation or a little bit of a border that's kind of put itself there, you can then start working away in the chat feature. Like you said earlier, go to Figma, go and find out the color distribution that actually needs to be put in there. Oh, here we go.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not too bad actually. It's so yeah, it's obviously hasn't created the gray div around it. That's why like I haven't. So it's done obviously a structure that we wanted, but I think you could bake that into your project if you wanted to. So this kind of section isn't too bad. This should actually be it's obviously a hover over, which it hasn't detected. So it's just like sort of literally put that there in the design. So I don't think it's too good at being able to translate, and that obviously this graph is just a UI element instead of actually like doing anything specific. But again, it's not terrible. So you could definitely get maybe some sort of direction and then like tying it up. But I'd definitely find it much faster to just go into explaining it, breaking it down, because I think in a few moments you can just have literally a design as beautiful as this, just by talking to Claude Code. I want to also touch on some of these that you brought up. So you sent me this link. So talk me through these a little bit.
So I sent you 3 different websites based upon yesterday's video. So I sent them to you, and I wanted to work out in your mind where you sit with them, and features that you think are cool, features that you think that can be replicated pretty simply. Do they even have a space in this world, etc.? So a few are different, but I wanted to kind of get your opinion on how you view these and where you kind of see some sort of success that the 5-day sprint community could add these typical projects in to what they're doing.
But I love this, by the way, very clean. I think, yeah, this is really impressive, man. This is really cool. Really cool. Like, how nice.
I'm really addicted for some reason at the minute in time with that icon that sits between the text.
Yeah,
I keep seeing this everywhere, and I
yeah, it's
can't get enough
beautiful.
of it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So how they doing that? They're probably doing some sort of animation. Yeah, it's not a video or anything. Um, this part maybe feels a bit too like. Thing is, you obviously want to. It's interesting because it just depends. I just know but it's telling the story really well. Like at the end of the day, is a story. Is it? They're taking you through a visual journey, and it's obviously made more for kids, I suppose. Is it? Um,
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think Genie AI, I think, is the product.
yeah,
I may
yeah.
be wrong.
This obviously takes a lot of work though, like to get it like this, and this is all definitely possible because they are all like seem like just HTML elements, but they're yeah, we
Well,
don't tell this.
the question that also comes to my mind, Omar, is at what stage are you thinking when you're building your project? So, um, I'm almost looking at it from a point of view, which is at what point would someone typically scroll off? So if they haven't got enough
I
information, at
know,
what point do they
I
usually
know,
jump off, kind of
I
thing? And
know,
it's
no.
that's the kind of bit that I'm also like want to ask your thoughts and your feelings on, which is when are we over designing, or and at what stages should there be? Is there a certain criteria in your mind where you're like, cool, we need to at least put some information after two scrolls because that's when people are going to really be desperate for some understanding at this point. Like, how are you kind of viewing these kind of situations?
Yeah, it's a really good question, man. I think my personal opinion has always been sometimes what you don't want is like you don't want to feel like you need design or use design in a way to cover the insecurities of the product. Um, and so what can sometimes happen, there's one realm in which you have beautiful design, like the Lando Norris website, as an example, that you showed me, which is a stunning site, but it works for what it is because it has to be more of a portfolio. He's a superstar. It needs that type of, thing to it. But then you have things like this, which is a product, and you want someone to interact and engage. And what you don't, there's only a truth that the creator of the product can answer, which is, am I using design and overdoing design to cover for an insecurity of like how good my product actually is? Because if the product itself is brilliant, you just want people to land inside the product and to enjoy the product, and by enjoying the product, you'll get them to actually engage, transact, create an account, actually understand the product much better than scrolling through. Because when you're scrolling through, I'm not like understanding what they do really. I'm not. Even when I'm looking through it, actually I'm just looking from a design lens. I'm not even trying to understand what they. It almost feels like too much work for my brain to appreciate the design and also understand what they're doing. Like I don't even know if I play join waitlist. Like, what am I even signing up to? It almost
Yeah.
feels like they want things to be true, and they want me to love this idea of a genie. They want me to love this idea that they have of what this means. And I often find this with founders as well who are passionate about a project. Now we've spoken about this before, which it's your baby, and so you want everyone else to find your baby beautiful, but you find your baby beautiful. And so they talk about their product as if like it's the greatest thing ever, but like in your microcosm, that's everything. But to everyone else, they've got enough stuff to worry about. And I think like that kind of comes to the thing of respecting the user's time and their attention. And what I like to see is if it needs to be a showcase like an Apple iPhone page, which I sometimes find a bit overkill anyway, things like that, then I can see the necessity or at least some sort of requirement for beautiful design. If you're trying to convey the stature of the project, the product, sorry, if it's more of a you know, a shop front for something that needs to be explained a certain type of way. There can be very specific times at which it's required. But if you're building, let's say, a directory, or you want people to actually do something on your product, just get them to do the thing and actually engage with your product as quickly as possible. Like I have no, first of all, I can't even do anything with this. I have to join a wait list. So it makes it even a bit more of like a anticlimax. Like if I press create here, look, it just doesn't do anything. Like it's basically just a portfolio piece at the moment. And so it kind of disrespects the user's time a little bit. But if you look at a product like Xcali Draw that has become quite popular, you go to xcalidraw.com and look, you're straight into the product. And like stuff like this is beautiful. There's no landing page. Like you don't, and I think a good one is not Tweet
Oh, I
Hunter.
like that.
There's one called Shots.so might be one as well. So these guys allow you to create like screenshots from images, which I really like. So I use these for like my videos and things. And so you come straight into a product where you could basically like drop an image in here. So I can drop an image in and I can basically now just immediately start editing things on the frame, adding shadow, changing the color of the background, changing the size of the, to a browser if I do a browser screenshot, really cool. So like this is very useful tool in general, by the way, for people to use. But look, it's beautiful. It's straight into the product. And now, if they choose to upsell me on things, like they have some premium elements here, I think, like, there are some premium colors and textures and other things they've got going on. I think for mock-ups, you have to get like premium, some premium devices. I don't know. But it's great because I'm not even seeing premium anyway. But I think there are some things that they require premium for. They're like, resolution, maybe for pro. And then look, even the way that upsells you, it's like just comes in on the side, which is lovely, and it's just beautifully designed. To me, this is how products should be. I actually aspire to create products like this. Like I would love to create a product. Teeny Tails was kind of a inspiration for that, which was like, let's land people straight in the product, where you go to teenytails.com and immediately you're just creating a story with your kids. Like I don't need to explain it to you. Yes, it might be interesting for me to have learned Create Imagine and a brand new world of imagination, all these kind of funky things, but like I want you to enjoy the product because that would have such a bigger, aha moment and wow impact almost. And Excali Draw is another great example of that. I can go straight in here. Okay, if I want to screenshot this for a video I'm working on, awesome. Screenshot, go in here. Immediately, the only thing I have to do is paste. That's here now. Now I can understand all these things. Okay, I can press 5. I can draw an arrow. Awesome. If I press 8, I can say here, navbar. Great. Now I've got like this visual going on, which just adds some flavor to my videos, whatever. That's like the unique. I don't even know if that's like a aspect of their growth that they considered, but they've grown because if you go on most people's YouTube, they're using this to actually, and I use it on my videos today. You see it on like Riley's videos, Greg uses it on his videos. A lot of people use it where they're just using xcalidraw.com, and this is a walking billboard for them, because while people are doing this, the first thing that someone's thinking is, oh, what is the URL? And it's right there. The URL is always there. No one's hiding that when they're screen sharing. So this is a great billboard and the product is doing the job and people are using the product for their own videos. So if you can create tools like this that have this sort of like, indirect advertising mechanism, but allows people to go straight into product, is better than any landing page. And that's how I would think about this thing. Like something like this, you could effectively vibe code. But that's what I like. To me, it's as quick as possible because this shows no insecurity. To me, the reason shots.so is actually a perfect example is because it's no insecurity. Our product's great. Land the product. Use the product. We don't want to say it. There's not a single word that you have to read. Use the product. As soon as I land on there, drop an image in. Excellent. But also, there's design excellence. And so that shows a duty of care. And that makes me very curious about the people behind this because they have a great eye, great taste, great product building sensibilities, great marketing approach, clearly. Another good one, which doesn't have necessarily great design, but is full.
This is my favorite.
I love these guys. Like who cares about? You know what? I've never scrolled on this page. I'm just scrolling now for the first time. All I care about is this. I use these guys to remove backgrounds for my thumbnails, all that type of stuff. I love this. I just think they're the best remove BG, and they have an API, which is great. But hey, I never read this. I don't see anything else. I don't care about anything else. I just want to hit this button, and I have a selfish intent. And I think the more you realize that when people are using your product, they have a selfish intent. People want the product. That is their time. They got stuff to do. Let them do their job and be the facilitator for the job that they're here to do. Which I think is very interesting. So now with Best to Buys, that's a lot of the stuff I'm thinking about when we're building this new version of directory is how do we respect the person's time? Who is coming here? We've got a lot of data now. We know people are using our site for tourism purposes more than people actually in Dubai. These are people who are exploring coming. So interesting. Okay, well, how can we create an experience that is fulfilling to them and doesn't make them be like, oh, like, why are they showing me all these crazy banners and ads and whatever else? Like, no, we want to get what we want to get. And I think that's important. So I still think this is brilliant.
100%.
Beautiful design. A design from a user UX level, from a UI level, yes, it could be better. But I would, if I had a site like this and it's working, it's functional, I would pick this over a beautiful design. Now, this is where I was saying before, where if you can also make it beautiful, then why not? Of course, you should make it beautiful. A product like this. But that's where my world kind of intersects nicely. Is like, well, with vibe coding, I can now build products like this, but also I can then do interface like this. And so if people can do that, then you kind of got like this magical sort of potion that you can apply to anything you're building.
Indeed. This is
This
the
is
next one.
I've seen this one.
There's
Yeah.
yeah, and there's a special reason as to why I've shared this.
Go on.
This whole user face just there was all built through AI image generation.
Oh, was there?
Image to video. So this was, I think, if I'm right in saying, a mid-journey image, and then they use Google VO or Kling to then build it into this.
Perspective change is awesome. It's so impressive.
Yeah.
Man. Oh.
Yes. And I thought to myself that is, from a 5-day sprint perspective. Yeah, no, 100%.
Love this type of stuff, man.
Yeah, they've absolutely smashed out the park. I saw this on X the other week, and I probably should give reference to who it was, but I can't remember. But even like that bit at the bottom there for me is even like just to finish the page off, I think is insane. It goes to dark, and then there's like the decking at the bottom. Yeah, this bit here.
Oh, gorgeous, man.
Yeah.
See, I'll tell you why I think this is, first of all, this is an interesting product because, so look, their pricing tier, I was about to say they're probably a bit more enterprise, which they are. And so for a product like this, I think it's justifiable to take your time in doing this because there's going to be a direct correlation between the price tag. You're offering it's kind of a premium SaaS product. And you want the respect of the end user. You want to see this as like a respectable product. And it's almost a pitch deck within itself, and I think like people sharing it, getting in front of the right people, I think it's essential. And also their price point can almost justify it as well. That obviously it's worth the time and effort because it will earn probably them house points with the end user, which will then convert them over time. So I think for that sake, it's beautiful. And it also goes to show kind of, again, the duty of care they take on the landing page and product, which also probably will exemplify the type of duty of care they've taken to their product on their back end or the product the user is actually going to be using, which I think is fantastic. So
I even like the it sounds really silly, but even this is my favorite feature, this bit here, but even the white space as you're scrolling through, it takes you away from like having that kind of like jaw-dropping moment to then just the white space where you're just fully focused on exactly what's going on here. It looks premium. It's hard to look anywhere else apart from where the text is.
Nice color as well. I love these
and
green.
It just keeps you on track.
It's wonderful.
Yeah,
man.
Cool, right?
These even techniques, by the way, in Claude Code, just getting it to like highlight text, be able to change the text highlight to that color you want. Even a 5-day sprint, we do that. Like with blues, like even stuff like that is like very simple to do. And I definitely encourage people to just learn things like that, which is like really fun. They kind of remind me a little bit of
100%.
even Firecrawl's website. I like as well, just like how they've done it with, all these kind of grids. Like just very, very purposeful. Like, okay, boom, like this is what you're doing. You can just actually use a product straight from here. I love it. I just love everything about their website. Just so clean. This whole box design is just like so cool as well. Just incredible. Like, speaking to their audience, understand their audience is very developer UI, UX type of vibe, which is fantastic. So, let's just get into your last one as well, because I know you said this to a rivet. Okay, interesting.
Yes. This is I watched this video, which is pretty bad of me, but
it's basically just their logo.
The scroll features on here are pretty. Yeah. It's the scroll features are pretty cool. How it pushes the deck to the sides, moves the words in place.
That's funny. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, that's so cool. Look at that up top. Lovely, man.
Yeah. And what I like about this is, remember when we spoke about AI avatars and like brand ambassadors, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had characters that were quite consistent across your product range, like it's such a cool way to add them to the front and center of what you do. So, like, if Mickey Mouse's Clubhouse, for example, decided to build a new website today, I would 100 million% say that they should go and build something just like this, because it brings all the familiar faces that they've seen on
Oh, yeah.
social
Oh, yeah.
media,
Yeah,
that they
yeah, yeah.
and it encaptures it into this one. What do those boxes at the bottom do? They all
Like,
right, cool.
oh,
Little hiding spaces.
oh, stop it. Oh, this is what you mean by the AI avatars, right?
Yeah, this is it. Like, um no one's actually gonna know this. Like, you probably understand this. When I first saw Teeny Tales, my whole thought process was like, oh, cool. Why don't we go and build the children's BBC Bite Size, but for AI? And the whole point that I wanted to move into was it's becoming so easy to make AI images. Why don't we just go and create our own avatars that people fall in love with? Go and watch. I mean, this was next level. But you build those kind of stories, and you then have people falling in love with the characters. So they continuously keep coming back to your product because they're like, oh, I'm so invested in this person's story now, and I'm so invested in what the product actually does. It brings them back through multiple different angles. And these guys are just absolutely smashed out of the park. I will admit to you that I just think
Yeah, it's wonderful.
it's magical.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's so good. Um,
There is an element where you can go overboard. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's a lot of things here which, like, will take me way too far away from the product because I just fall in love with it. But I think that's probably what they've tried to do.
yeah, no, it's just wonderful. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. I love stuff like this. These are great finds, man. Good stuff. Yeah, really good
Yeah, these are
finds.
cool, right?
Yeah, really like this. But yeah, the avatar thing is definitely something that, you know, just however these might even be. See, what I find more interesting is how to, all right, like, because just to do this, man, that's not easy. Like, it's either keyframed or based on certain like hover triggers. You know, a video starts about to come in from there. Like, this is just like, you know, even if you inspect this, it'll be so interesting to see this is its own layer. You know what I mean, like that. So, which is interesting. You know, so inside that layer, they probably got an animation. Oh, it's a PNG sequence. So go to Jester. Okay, interesting. So this guy, there you go. So it's probably like it's broken down. See, they're really taking detail into how they're about to crop things out.
Wow.
Let's see, yeah. Look, so every
Oh,
single
wow. This is multiple images.
the PNG sequence. There's a sequence of images, basically plays like a GIF, a bit like just a like a book. There's basically a series of images that are playing in sequence to create the thing. So they basically cropped it to the curvature of the box. So when you see it, it's just like a beautiful animation. What's happening is like it's actually it's just basically just PNG images. So it looks like it's come from inside, but they've taken the image and basically taken this shape and just like mapped it around the shape of the thing. And that's how you got
So
this.
cool. The book above it, by the way.
Like if you look very
Oh, wow. I
closely,
didn't realize.
you can see
Yeah.
how the overlaps. So it's not actually coming from
Yeah,
inside
yeah.
on top of it, but it looks like it's coming from inside. You know? See what I mean?
That's incredible. That purple book above, Omar, the processes book. I think, I don't know where it was. Was it just a little scroll above? Maybe. There we go. Even this, you can just like, I could see this being someone's FAQs on their website, or, for example, Best to Buy. If someone wanted to plan a day in Dubai of what they want to go and do, it then kind of takes that idea, that concept, and then almost does like a generator for them.
I know, but again, this makes sense from an ROI perspective because they're an agency. You know, they're working with brands like, you know, Nike, Universal. We saw all these type of logos down there, and so it obviously makes sense for them to, you know, my friends have an agency called Buttermilk, and the time they spent in their brand, the website, everything it has a massive impact on the type of clients they end up landing because it's basically a lookbook in a way, you know. And they've just done a great job, and you know, with what they're building. And this site is lovely. It's like just clean, but you know, the clients they work with are like a direct reflection of the type of effort that goes into building a site like this. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that, you know, when people put this effort in, man, the right brands are going to get in touch with you. But it also depends what type of market you're in. Like you have to be in the market where, you know, you're able to convert and it actually makes sense for you to spend that type of time on building those visuals. But I wouldn't necessarily do it for just a kids AI product per se, but I don't know. I could be wrong. It's just, just my thoughts on it. So yeah, really cool, man. This is,
100%.
yeah, I love this type of stuff. Thanks for sharing those examples. I'm really, really curious to see more of your palette, man. But you clearly got a good eye of things you like as well. So that's cool, man.
It's separating the loose term, the fun stuff from the right stuff, like, if that makes sense. Like, I think you actually summed it up perfectly earlier, which is, if you could, why wouldn't you build and
Yes.
make it look nice across each of those stages?
Yes.
But again, everyone's always gonna be at respectable different levels, and I know for me, I've always been of the philosophy which is build foundations and then just add in the nice stuff over the period of time. Maybe because I'm a little bit of a slower person when it comes to the design element, but I am more excited than anything around design. So it almost leaves me something nice to feel with at the end of
Yeah.
the project.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of the whole process of our community in itself has just been just building this toolkit, for everyone. There are just so many tools that you can put in this AI toolkit. From something as simple as how do you run a dev server. What is the command you use to run dev server? npm run dev. Like that's it. But I now know that off the top of my head. But when I was starting building, I had to like constantly Google that and then copy and paste that. Now I know it. I can just type it. Same way a developer would type just that command to start a dev server. So something as simple as that, through to then how to use tools like Cursor, how to use Claude Code, how to use APIs. And then when you understand those concepts, you can basically use any API in the world. So like everything has this compound effect, right? Like once you can do it once, you can do it with anything. You use API, you can use it with anything. Once you understand how a design is, how to deconstruct a design, the way I've shown, you can then really deconstruct any design. If you then know how to prompt AI to animate something for you or introduce a Lottie image, you can now use a library of millions of Lottie images and be as creative as you want with them. And so it's all about stacking these skills on top of each other. And that's what this whole 5-day sprint, the product, the community, this entire thing that we're building here is all about, is like, how can we just get you to stack these skills over time? From building to design to marketing, just every single thing, because it's such a unique time to build. And the more and more everyone could do that, man, you'll be flying. You'll just be building things like, at the click of a finger. And beautiful things too. So
100%.
yeah,
There's
brilliant.
there's a pattern I'm recognizing right now in the community, which is a lot of people are building their first project, which is aligning it to best to buy, learning how you build, and then copying that sequence so they can understand exactly what needs to go into it. But the speed they go to build their second and their third project it catches me off guard every time, because it's like a day, 2 days, 3 days at max, where people are just going, right, I'm doing this around already what they do from a lifestyle point of view, family, work, enjoyment factors. And us being able to showcase more of this stuff, I find this so exciting. I'm sure they will as well. Think how quick and cool it will be to see the versions of their sites now with these scroll features, these animations, color gradients, etc. I think that's going to be the next stage we're looking at going in a couple of weeks' time. We look back our next members meeting that we have with you and one of the members inside the community, where we go, how's this been built? It's like we knew it could be, but how's it been built?
Yeah. I mean, I also want to start showcasing some of these projects on the 5-day sprint site as well. Like we need to actually have a, built with a 5-day sprint tab now, so people actually see what people have been building, which I think would be really cool. So it's lovely, man. It's a great time to just be building and creating and sharing this with everyone as well. So it's a good session, man. Thank you, Ollie. I enjoyed this, man. It's
Most welcome.
about design all day. So really good stuff, and can't wait for the next one.
Absolutely. Loved it. Thank you so much.
See you, man. Bye.
Clap, 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 we're done just right. 5-day sprint took us to new heights.